Here's how to live without guilt. First of all, recognize that your guilt is nothing to be feared. Your guilt is an internal system that displays your goodness. Again, your guilt is an expression of your own goodness. Therefore, you feel it if you want to feel it. For instance, when you feel guilty, the reason is because you have violated one of your own values or morals. That is an expression of your own morality or goodness. The fact that you've done something and now feel guilty for it is a signal that you are a good person. Psychopaths do not feel guilt. Congratulations. So for one, we should be grateful that we feel guilt. We should even be proud, but understand it belongs to you. It is not something to be used against you. So therefore, if you do not want to feel guilt, you should not feel it. Understanding that guilt belongs to you is the first step of not living according to guilt. You are not to be beholden or controlled by guilt. It is your internal system of punishing yourself when you don't live up to your own standards, morals, and values. If you would like to not feel guilty, you can change this emotion the same way that we change any emotion, by altering either our reality, our perception, or our values. So how do we alter the reality in this case? Well, if we stop doing whatever it is that's causing us to feel guilt, that is one way of getting rid of the guilt. That is altering the reality. Of course, in many cases, what we're doing is something that we've decided we need to do. So perhaps altering the reality wouldn't be a favorable option in this case. Like when you're feeling guilty for having to discipline a child. Well, you did need to discipline the child, you may recognize, so you must instead alter the values or alter the perception of the situation in order to get rid of the guilt. So let's talk first about altering the values. How can we do that? So let's say your situation is you feel guilty because you're not talking to your mother, and that makes you feel guilty. The reason, of course, that you're not talking to her is because she's toxic and you've needed to cut back or cut off the relationship. So how can we alter the values in this case? Well, we first have to recognize what the core values or beliefs were that are causing us to feel guilt. So when you meditate on it, you'll recognize that you believe that family is everything, or you believe that your mother is highly important, or your mother is everything, or you must always talk to your mother, or that it's your job to be a good daughter or a good son. So when we look at those things, now we've identified what the core beliefs, the values are that we are violating. Now we understand why we're feeling guilt. So how do we alter these values? Well, let's pick the values apart a little bit. When you think about these values, where did you learn them? Well, in childhood. From whom? Oh, from the very persons that you are no contact with. Your family, your relatives, your mom taught you that your mother is everything, and your mother is the exception to all the rules, and that family is the most important thing. Okay, well, do these apply? Do these values still apply in this case? Well, not so much. Because if someone is toxic, then prioritizing them above everything else means prioritizing them above your mental health. So when you analyze these values, you see there's room to change or update these values a little bit because they're not totally adaptive. They're not totally healthy for us. And so how would we alter the values? Well, we just need to update the values to something that fits our situation more accurately, more healthily. So, for instance, instead of believing that family is everything and our mother is the most important thing, which, by the way, is entitlement because it's all based on the title of these people, we can alter that to be more healthy, which would be, I feel that family is important and I feel that my mother is important, but it is my job to prioritize my mental health. Now this is a new value. My family is important, but it is my job to prioritize my mental health, my well-being, my peace of mind, my happiness, my privacy, my freedom, my autonomy. The moment we alter that value from mom everything, family everything, to important but I need to prioritize my mental health, the guilt subsides. The switching of the value changes the emotional state. Finally, you have your perception that you would have to look at in this case. So we take the same example of not calling the mom. How are we perceiving this situation that's making us feel guilty? Well, you'll notice you're probably perceiving yourself as being wrong, yourself as not living up, as not being good enough for doing what you're doing. You're perceiving yourself as not being justified in doing what you're doing. So we need to alter that perception. So how do we do that? Well, what would be the opposite perception? Well, it would be that I am right and I am justified in my course of action. Okay? Well, let's ask that question. In what way am I actually right and justified in altering this perception? Now, I'm asking that question so I can gather evidence to support this new perception. And as I ask the question, what comes to mind? Why am I right in not being in contact or being low contact with my toxic mother? Well, because it's my job to prioritize my mental health, and because it's important for me to have peace in my life, and she doesn't bring peace, and I don't want to become toxic or ill. And I'm right because it brings more honor to my parents when I am healthy. And you're just writing these down as you go, as they come to your mind. What are some other reasons why I'm justified? Because I've given this person many chances and they still have not changed. And then as you go through all of those examples, you realize there's a lot of evidence, there's a lot of reasons that supports this new perception of matters, which is that you are right and you are justified. And the moment you are perceiving the same situation as you being right or you being justified, the guilt subsides. Join me next time for How to Live Without Shame. If you want to learn more about this and other subjects in healing from trauma, enroll in my healing course.